squad, I'm gonna get mine. Go do the crime if you can't do the time. Don't tell me how you're all down. When you smile in my face, but you play me like a clown, it's your fool, bitch. So just step back, or I'm mad that when I come down straight. I thought you were my piece, but you play me out. Now I'm mad as hell, and I'm full of doubt. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. I'm back on the scene, it's time to get mean. I'm a lean revolution machine. Won't want people stay, they sway. One, 2 day is good as any day. You'll feel slightly this, let's resist. Raise your fist and pump like this. Promises all the time. Don't cross the line, but you know it's right. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll.
Trouble time. Get something in your rear. Trouble time. Get something in your rear. Trouble time. Get something in your rear. Trouble time. Get something in your rear.
Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? 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 Who you wanna roll with?
Yeah, Kathy got the full version without the mute.
Howdy, y'all.
Oh yeah, I take part in that last part. What's up, Johnny?
Welcome.
Why does that seem like that was like a lot longer than normal?
Because cannabis distorts time and space. It just seemed like longer, you know? Like, wow, man, it's never going to end. I'll tell you what's really getting high is being in Asbury Park, really, really high. Actually, it was more than just cannabis, but the story's nonetheless fun. And driving out at 2 a.m. after an amazing night, I was driving with 3 other people in the car, and it's Asbury Park, and it was where there's one-way streets opposite Rose grid. And I don't know where it is, but what happens is you come up and it says one way. Well, I go that way. And there's another stop sign that says one way. So I go that way. And then I'm all the way back to, I've already been here. And then again, a freaking third time. And then it's like, you see anybody? No, I'm going through it now. And I went through it. You know, it was just like that one block where that possibly could have happened. So anyway, and I
sounds like Bayonne.
I don't think it was. Oh yeah, it was Asbury Park. It was with my college roommate Pedro Alvarino Maceres. He's from Peru. His dad was a general there. No, his dad was a research guy. His girlfriend's father was a general, and they stored confiscated pot there. And when I was in Raleigh, North Carolina, dorm, he got a package of confiscated Peruvian pot mailed to us. That was really cool, you know. I mean, I felt bad somebody who got confiscated, but anyway. Gloria,
Hi, Gloria.
look. There she
In
is.
Bayonne, they drive backwards.
No, that's
Did you
just
notice
you.
that? Yeah, they drive backwards in Bayonne. They actually drive the cars backwards. Watch my videos. I've never seen nothing like it before. It's pretty wild.
Backwards going the correct direction.
Yeah, and
Hi,
people
Gloria.
walk backwards. The cops shook my hand and he walked backwards into his car. It was very cool.
Huh. Well, here we are.
Gloria, can you hear us?
Okay.
Hi, I can now. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, this is Gloria Smith. She's one of my colleagues. She's a member of the Cannabis Nurses Network, and she lives in Jersey. So we have another Jersey girl. And
Welcome.
Gloria is going to tell us about what she does and who she is and all of the fun things about Farmingdale. So
Oh my goodness.
the floor is yours.
This is what I was afraid of. I don't even know where to start. It's very overwhelming because, when we're talking about the topic of cannabis medicine, I could talk for hours and days on everything. But I guess I could tell you my story a little bit.
You can start wherever you want to start.
And I wanted to say, in preparation, I watched most of Dr. Grinspoon's episode, and he's fantastic. I'm gonna have to get his book. So one of the things that I would love to talk about is that my board certification is in gerontology, and if there wasn't cannabis, I would be certified in cannabis too, but there isn't. But my passion in cannabis is really the senior folks and the senior population. And I mean, that's my passion in medicine in general, but I love a senior patient. It's my favorite. And I think that they need the most help out there with educating our providers and offering them support in, places where they get their medicine. So I thought it was a fabulous episode. I wish I could have jumped in back in time and joined it because it was great. You guys had such good conversation.
We're going to have him on the network too, so you'll be able to get to see him
I am so excited.
as soon as he gives me a date.
I am so excited to talk to you because that is what I do. Senior cannabis education, advocacy, awareness, destigmatization. I have a whole school community starting from your first trip to the dispensary, what to ask your doctor before you go, all the way down, product reviews. Have you heard of Dr. Janice McCullough?
No, I haven't.
She's in the Chicago area. She's board certified in geriatrics, palliative, and hospice. And she's a very big cannabis advocate. She goes to symposiums around the world and all that kind of stuff. And so she does a podcast every Wednesday.
Oh, that's awesome. She sounds like my kind of person because there's another interest that I have.
Yes.
And I worked in hospice too, and cannabis medicine is so incredible in the hospice and palliative space. I mean, it's incredible everywhere. We could just go on and on and on, but those are my particular passions. I think my story is probably a little bit different than your average person. So I, embarrassingly enough, grew up in the DARE time, and I got swindled by DARE. And my sister smoked pot and I did not. And we fought about it. And I, told her I believed all the propaganda. It was a gateway drug at that time. And I was going to lose my sister to some worse drug than pot could be. And then years later, I came upon working in an MS clinic in multiple sclerosis. And that was when I was introduced to the wonders of cannabis medicine in so many different aspects, because I know you guys have talked about MS before and everyone kind of has an understanding of MS as a disease and knows that cannabis has such a space to help those patients. And my favorite story to tell, and this is why I love the gerontological space, is that I had an octogenarian. She was in her 80s and she had MS, which is quite old with MS, right? And she had been dealing with it for a long time. You know, she developed symptoms before there was a real diagnosis, but really dealt with MS like through her whole life, right? And we were right at the forefront of the medical program in New Jersey. And I have to say, the medical program in New Jersey is not terrible. There's a lot of places that it can be improved, but it's never really totally let me down. It's done a lot of good things. And it taught me about cannabis and cannabis as medicine. So, you know, this patient, she was particularly plagued by neuropathies, and they were worse at night, and she was not getting sleep on top of dealing with neuropathy all day long. And we convinced her to give it a try, you know, through the doctor helping me. He was a great support in it. And she came back to the clinic for her next follow-up in tears and said, I forgot I deserved to feel that good. And I will never forget the way that she put that, because she just got into this slump of, I'm going to be miserable for the rest of my life. I'm going to have to deal with these. You know, she had maxed out on gabapentin, which is a pretty tried and true, right, pharmaceutical when it comes to nerve pain, but it's the only option and it doesn't work for a lot of people. And it was not working for her. And just for her to say in the way that she did really opened my eyes at the
Could you
time.
repeat that exactly like you remember her saying? I want to make sure I got that because that was beautiful.
Yeah, she said I forgot that I deserved to feel that good. You know, and it wasn't only just the forgot to how it felt to felt good, but she felt like she didn't deserve it for some reason. And
What year would this have been about? You know,
this would have been about 2015 or 14, maybe 13, if I'm getting it wrong, somewhere around that space, the early teens.
yeah, I followed the progress with the MS Society relative to cannabis for a couple of decades. You know, it's
It's pretty,
quite the picture of my late wife Cheryl, who had MS, leading the parade down Fifth Avenue in New York City. It was the Cures Not Wars parade, half a cannabis one. So they had somebody in a wheelchair, a patient out front, with a big sign on the back hooked to it where the headrest would be, but a sign of, and leading a parade in a city she'd never been in. And the sign said the MS Society's Dr. Reingold lies about medical marijuana or something like that, you know. And we went to deliver the sign to him at the national office at 733 Third Avenue, but he wouldn't come down to meet us. And we went there with one of the legal smokers, Elvie Masika. So we had quite the picture of Elvie and Cheryl outside their office with Elvie legally smoking pot and Cheryl going without. You know, it was like a really profound picture. But
wow.
yeah, but anyway, that's why, MS was like there from the beginning, but you know, that's just a whole different story. 80 is pretty old for an MS patient. It really is.
Quite old, absolutely. And she, I think she got lucky, you know, she just got lucky. And
Deserve to feel that way, you know?
yeah, and that's striking to me. And I feel like that kind of speaks to the way that other medicines treat a patient. When you get put on gabapentin because you have neuropathy, you're told you are going to have neuropathy and you have to take this medication to control it. So there's no get rid of the pain. It's just this medication is for this diagnosis. And as long as you have this diagnosis, you take this medication. And it's done in this indefinite way that, you know, we never know when we're going to have the end of it, right? Or if you ever are going to have the end of it. And cannabis medicine is so different because it's like, you can actually manage and manipulate symptoms to rid yourself of certain symptoms so that you don't have to be nauseous all the time or have, you know, crippling neuropathy all of the time where you can't function or you can't sleep. And it's for me, I feel I'm a real scientific, science-based person, and it really just opened my eyes to this whole other world of not only symptom management, but like like getting rid of symptoms, which
Symptom management in the hospice, also you mentioned, that is such a direct point to people's understanding who just are having trouble getting behind it. They know it's not the evil weed and everything, but the it's easy to understand that the end of life situation where you're cognizant of everything and you're your old self and you're feeling deserving to feel this way, and you have those last moments, which are the most important moments in anybody's relationship with anybody they care about. When you know, especially so when you know it's the end, you know, that is something that so basically could be such a huge help, but that it's in an institutional care situation for if it's not in home. You know, that would be then Ryan's law is where that would be where we need to
right.
do more about that in New Jersey. I I assume you're familiar with Ryan's law, shaking your head. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I was trying to become helpful with the advocacy, and used to try to jump into meetings here and there, and just sort of fell off the wagon of advocacy as life happens and goes on, and your kids grow and need you. Um, but you know, you mentioned cannabis in the hospice space. So my mother is a hospice nurse. She's been a nurse forever, a hospice nurse forever. I was a hospice nurse briefly. I love to use hospice or cannabis medicine in the hospice space to like help, you know, bend the strictest of minds, right? That it's real easy to get behind. You want somebody to be cognizant and enjoy the end of their life. But I feel like I try not to use it too often because it can be like a crutch. Like people look sometimes as hospice patients as, well, who cares? They're going to die anyway. So let them try something that's risky or something along those lines, right? It's a line that we have to be careful with. I try to use hospice as like that gateway, get people into the cannabis space if they're real stubborn and sticklers, like my mom was, until she had a patient who was, she said, nauseous, 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 nothing would help. And then she gave him, you know, family gave him cannabis, and he said, well, I'm still kind of nauseous, but I don't care that I'm nauseous. And then she was sold on cannabis medicine.
There's also it's a double-edged sword when you know this and you know somebody could use it and you know it's a hard sell or trying to a spouse or somebody might object, you know, all that. But if you don't, once that person passes on, you can't go back and change that. And I don't want to spend parts of my life wishing I'd done something that simple. You know, you got to get it right the first time. And so being in a position to help people and maybe guide them a little bit at that time, you know, that should be top of the list. I mean, if it was a triage of where do we put our efforts and you could only do one thing at a time, that'd be the place to start.
I mean, our medicine and our healthcare is sometimes backwards. You know, if you think about what palliative care is symptom management, is symptom control, is quality of life. Why is that not foremost in all medicine? Why is that specific to palliative care? Why can't we look at people who have active treatments going on and say, how can we make your life better by, you know, improving these symptoms or getting rid of these symptoms?
Yeah.
It's a point of view that baffles me, and I don't understand. I feel like maybe it's sometimes the difference between a nurse and a doctor. You know, the doctor's looking at this treatment in a very like rigid way, no offense to doctors. And then nurses are looking in a different way where we're like, well, we're managing the trickle down of all of the symptoms and all of the day-to-day everything. And it gives us a different perspective, well, a different point of view to look at, you know, how we want to direct our patient care. And I just think it should always be symptom management. If you are old enough to have a disease and you have a symptom, then you need it managed.
Yeah.
And you know,
as
nurses. Oh, I'm sorry.
we tend to, as nurses, we lean more towards the holistic, you know, the holistic effect of things that we treat patients with, especially when they're at their most vulnerable state, when they're dying, you know. It's just it's a sad time, you know, and to get them as comfortable as possible is really the goal. But you know what I wanted to ask you, Gloria, is a little bit about tell us a little bit about your son you mentioned to me.
Yeah, so my youngest son is Harry. He's 13 and he has Emery-Dreifuss muscular dystrophy. So everybody's pretty familiar with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. It's a very sad disease. Thankfully, he does not have that form. That's sort of the childhood form of ALS. So he has a different type where he is profoundly disabled. He can't scratch his nose. We have to help him with everything. And he has some joint contractures and some heart problems along with it. But it's a very rare type, so we like don't even know kind of what the future holds for him. But he's doing very, very well. And I mean that has been such a life-changing event for me because so he started walking and then right at his 2-year-old's birthday. So he was like a little delayed and he walked for about a year and then he needed a wheelchair and he's been now in a wheelchair since he's 4. And that's not me.
Not me either.
So I have entered this whole different world and it really changed my nursing practice too because I became this person who now knew about wheelchairs and knew about, you know, people parking in the slanted lines and us not being able to get our wheelchair van out and the costs of, you know, building a ramp at every entrance of your home and transitions and all these things. So so I kind of transitioned in my nursing practice after COVID and did more work with people with disabilities, particularly in wheelchairs, because it's just a whole nother world. It's you wouldn't believe it until you live in it, you know. And my I'm married for the second time. Everybody gets along. We're all good family now. But my second husband is like, I just wouldn't have even thought about any of this had I not stepped into the shoes and lived it. And it's really hard for people to imagine what it's like if they've never like been in a wheelchair van before and like had a child stuck on the side of the road in the rain because we couldn't get into the parking spot to get our ramp out, you know. So I feel like that's given me some empathy that I would like to share in any capacity because man, it's a tough world, you know.
It is.
Equipment at home, all that stuff. We did thankfully we were able to do a renovation in the house and we were able to make like a handicapped accessible bathroom and bedroom for him, which is we were cramming it in before and it didn't work. So, you know, it just gives you a totally different perspective, really.
Gloria,
Yes.
there's dispensaries in New Jersey. You said you're from New Jersey. I'm
Yes.
not sure what dispensary you go to, but there's a few dispensaries that don't have wheelchair access because the CRC did not implement any kind of regulation for wheelchair access. They just allow the ADA to take over, and of course that allows older buildings to be grandfathered in. So you have older dispensaries like Maplewood.
Yes.
They have no access. South Orange, Jersey City, Camden. They have no wheelchair access.
Newark, Jersey City.
And
Are
listen,
they recreational spaces or medical spaces?
the
Rec.
recreational.
The ones
I
that
mean, they should all have, you know, we can't, like,
Yeah.
I always joke that me and Harry can't go to Philadelphia, but it's not a joke. It's true. Like, there's no buildings we can get into in Philadelphia because they're all grandfathered in. So what you're saying is so true. Like, it's ridiculous when people occupy an old building. If you want people to experience cannabis medicine, rec or med doesn't matter. Like, you have to give accessibility to all people. I think that that's pretty terrible, in my opinion.
And
That
it's
makes
so common. It really is. Even at events, I was at an event where more than half of it was not handicap accessible. It was at a Sheraton.
You would think that people would care too. Like I mean, my son was he's little. He's still little. So you see like kid in a wheelchair. I used to go to the same beach year after year. We'd park his wheelchair. I'd strap him and all of our stuff down to the beach. Never a person offered to help ever.
Yeah.
And people would park in the handicap spots all the time. People don't care.
No.
They don't care.
Until it happens to them.
Until it happens to them. And then the first time that they have to push, Aunt Linda, in her wheelchair to somewhere where they can't get her in, it's going to be a big problem. But I mean, that's what my husband always says. Like, it doesn't matter until a politician has somebody in their family that it happens to them.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it rolls.
They have snow plows in the winter in Jersey that always seem to pile the snow in the handicap spots.
Yes.
Why do they pile the snow in the handicap spots? I never could understand that.
Hey, Lefty, how many ramps have you Falk people assisted or embarrassed into getting?
I think we're up to like 51, maybe 50, 51.
51. He's El Rampador. I mean,
El Rampador.
Yeah, that's quite a street.
He sent me to the dispensary one day. Just this woman has a dispensary, and I won't go into detail about where, but she had no wheelchair accessibility or any kind of accessibility, and she kicked me out of her dispensary. And of course, when Lefty went back there, she cried, and she was sorry and whatnot, But, people don't think, 30 years ago, my father had stroked and he had he was paralyzed, his whole right hemisphere, and he lost his speech and what have you, and he was a strong, strapping man. And, 30 years ago it was even worse because it wasn't so much publicized or what have you. If you had a family member that was wheelchair bound, you had that family member, and that's about the way people saw it, and it was difficult for us because, there were 4 of us, and then there were my kids, and we did the best we could, with my mother, and she had dementia. So it was a lot, and most of the time my father had to be carried into somewhere, and thankfully, we had, my brothers were bigger guys, and so were my kids, and they were able to do that. But it was, that was tough stuff. It really was. And, and just fighting for it now, like really, really amazes me. Like what is wrong with us? What is wrong with this?
And Sue, if I had the answer to that question,
I know.
A lot.
You'd retire.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Lefty, why don't you tell Gloria a little bit about your wheelchair drives around Bayonne and what you've seen? Because you got a lot of good stories for her.
Well, yeah, there's steps all over Bayonne. And Bayonne is an urban enterprise zone. So if you can't get into those businesses, you can't get the same tax breaks as able-bodied people. And nobody talks about this because I don't understand it. But when I talk about it, people look at me like I'm crazy. But if there's steps, and if you're in a wheelchair and you can't get into that business, you can't get those tax breaks. And it's like very simple. There should be a huge class action lawsuit. So I went up and down Broadway here in Bayonne with my wheelchair and my mask on. I had a wrestling mask. And
you've seen that
and my camera. And I would go up to people. I'd be like, hey, where's your wheelchair ramp? And they'd be like, oh, we'll get one soon. Assaulted 3
The checks
times.
in the mail.
Yeah, checks in the mail. I got assaulted 3 times. One lady, I said, where's your wheelchair ramp? And she slammed the door in my face. Slammed the door in my face. And I said, I'm going to sue you for $100,000. So she comes running out of the store, and she starts bang, bang, smacking me in the head, knocks me on the ground. I'm like, oh, wow. So the cops came, and I took her to court for assault, and I dropped the charges when she put the ramp in. They put a ramp in, so I dropped the charges. So I had to do that a couple of times. But that's the hard way. I like the easy way better. The easy way is better when you just put one in. But if I have to get assaulted, I'll take an assault. Sure, why not? What the hell? But
What the hell?
A
You
little
know,
salt, a little pepper.
lead with your chin for success. And what kind of flavor? Well, hey man, more power to you. But
I just went to the YMCA here. I joined the Lions Club. I don't know if you know the Lions Club. They help blind and deaf people. And
Mm-hmm.
since I've joined them, now they're helping people in wheelchairs. So I joined the Lions Club. They sent me to the YMCA on a mission. So I go to this YMCA looking for wheelchair access, and there's none. There's a ramp that goes to an empty, dirty basement where there's nobody there. So I take my wheelchair. I walk up the stairs to the office. I have my camera on me. I'm like, "Where's your wheelchair access?" "Oh, we have an elevator, but only the janitor is allowed to use it. If you're disabled, we have to kick you out of here. You have to go to a nursing home." There's literally there's literally disabled people living in fear, hiding in their rooms at the YMCA here in Bayonne, because if they're caught in a wheelchair or any kind of thing, they're going to get kicked out and put into a nursing home. Like living in fear. It's crazy what's going on.
That's
So
insane.
only the janitor can use the elevator. So we went to the council, and the council said that they wrote a letter to the YMCA saying that the elevator needs to be accessible to people in wheelchairs. So I don't know what that letter did. I have to follow up on that, but that's kind of where we're at in the YMCA here in Bayonne. But
Gosh, you would think it would just be common sense. I just don't understand why this isn't like common decency to serve all people equally.
Humanity.
Yeah, but unfortunately we're lacking some humanity right now, I'm guessing.
Mhm.
And it's
You know,
sad.
Glory, I live in a building, in an apartment building. One of those they call them luxury rentals. I beg to differ on that, but whatever. The building is 3 years old. There's no wheelchair access to get into my building. The building I have to use my phone for everything. Okay, to get in the door, to get through the doors, to get into the mail room. To get into the Amazon lockers, what have you, and even to get in my own door. So I brought that to the building manager and I said, nobody can get in the front door. He said, well, yeah, you can come up, the curb with a wheelchair. It goes down. And I said, yeah, but you can't get in the building. It doesn't matter if you can get up the sidewalk,
if
you
you
can't
can't
open
get
the door. There's
you
no
wouldn't
button.
be able to get up the curb with my son's 432-pound wheelchair. So,
Right.
some people would be stopped right at that curb.
Yeah. So
I don't understand why it's not just why it doesn't just come out, with new building. I don't know why.
It is a building code, though. It is a building code, So it's so what do you do? I have to live here. So is my next move? Do I wait a couple of weeks? Is my next move then to go down to the town hall, the city hall, and make a little bit of noise there? I don't know.
And then will they
Yes.
renew your lease if you do?
Oh, they'll renew my lease. Money hungry.
Yeah, they like money. If they like money, they will.
Yeah. But it's unfortunate. It really is, and hearing Lefty's stories and hearing your stories, I've heard Liz's stories, and Jim, you got a lot to tell, about your experiences with Cheryl. It's an ongoing problem that has to be stopped. And I don't understand why it still continues. I really don't.
And people don't realize it hurts the vendors and the businesses too.
Well, I don't really care about them so much as I care about what do we do? Who are the people that we're electing? Who are they? Do they have any common sense? Do they see?
None of them have any common sense.
Do they see this? It's
how they get there.
Yeah. How did you get there? Right. That's the question. Yeah, Jim. You look like a man of word.
No. I have it's like a Netflix thing, like what's on. It's this Rolodex of things that are just crossing. I mean, where was I? Yeah, it was like as quick as one would happen, it would morph into something else you were saying. I think it was, when brought Cheryl to the White Dog Cafe, in Philadelphia, which was like the first sustainable energy. You know, it was all green, 100%. But it was also like in a brownstone sort of walk up. You know, and I didn't know that. And the fact was that we had to get a room in a motel, not to stay overnight, just to make the trip to get all right, or I could go over with her in a wheelchair. It's cold, so the wheelchair is laying down as it is most of the time, unless she's fully stretched. And I had this is dressing an Afghan over her, and then a second one because you can breathe real good through, and it was cold. And I was there, and I had to run up quick and say, you know, I'm here, and they're already there were. Well, we can carry up the wheelchair. I was okay with that. But the only way I could make a statement was to yank their chain. And I said, let me introduce you to Cheryl. And I pulled off the Afghan, and there was another Afghan. It looked like a homeless cart, you know? And went, I forgot Cheryl. They were, you know what? They didn't know what to think for a second. And you know, it wasn't to be dealt with then. And, you know, I mean, when you're in a situation like that, I don't even know what the solution would be. It was, I don't know how it works out. And where someone, they have a storytellers night once a month because they were that kind of place. They were pretty cool. I still are, I imagine. And this was, I think, the last time Cheryl was out. It was the first, you know, Lefty, were you there then by any chance?
Yes, I was there.
There you go. You know, I mean, I'm sorry it isn't more predominant in my mind, but it's you know, there's a lot going on in this carnival in my head these days. But yeah. So anyway, you know, I've always been aware of how hard it would be, and whenever we were in Washington, I prided myself on complaining about it with her and make him kind of, you know, find a better way or something, you know. So
I tell you, I might seem like a really nice person, but when people start to give me a hard time when it comes to him in the wheelchair, I become a not very nice person. I've made people carry his wheelchair because, like, he's in an automated wheelchair, so it's 430 pounds. It's a huge one. And people will say, "Oh, we'll carry the wheelchair up," and you get me mad enough, and I say, "Okay, go ahead, carry it up." And I've had people carry it. They carried him onto a pirate boat. They carried him up to a treetop, like little dinner area. Like I've had him carried to a nice little beach area in Costa Rica. Like I will make people carry his wheelchair if they offer, because you know. It's enough after a while when you get to places where you get the stop and go in.
That heavy of a wheelchair, that's a job for 4 people. They got to be pretty strong. I mean, you know, regular wheelchair, and Cheryl not being a heavyweight at all by any stretch, it was more awkward. But
Yeah.
I think the one I like is there's a picture of us on the top of a Staten Island ferry. Just doing a thing out to the Statue of Liberty and back. And there's a picture of us in the World Trade Center behind each of our heads.
No.
And it was like, but it took people to do that, but we were with other people. But you know, the thing is, it's like a boat full of people staring. And you know, the one thing I learned that, well, not that Cheryl taught me, but I experienced one time myself, was she sees people looking away all the time. She says, you wouldn't believe how many people I catch turning their heads. You know, you go and heads are turning the other way. And I only say as a quick bye story because, you know, I got a million of them. Yeah, it was a really hot day one time, taking care of her, and I had to get up to get her some medicine. And it's about 1.5 miles up Route 37 in Toms River. It's about 102 degrees out. And she has a motorized wheelchair. So I took a ride up the shoulder, and people were looking away from me. I'm like, holy shit. You know, so I'd ride with my legs crossed, kind of like, you don't have to look at me with any kind of pity. Then they looked at me like they were pissed off, you know? And then when I was coming out to the wheelchair and I got in to drive away, a guy yelled at me. He thought I was stealing a wheelchair because it was also a surgical supply thing. And it was this whole like freaking mess, you know? But then we went to a thing that Geraldo Rivera was at in Red Bank, Twin Rivers something. It was a thing in a park, and it's Geraldo, and we're trying to capture a celebrity. And there was an Elvis impersonator contest, and it was crowded, and Cheryl's in her wheelchair, you know? So what I do is there's people sitting, I'd go up, and the feet thing would just touch them a little, and they'd, oh, sorry. And they'd move, and I'd gain like 3 inches. I'd do it again.
You do it again.
Oh, I kid you not. It took an hour, but it was entertaining for Cheryl. See, this gives her hope, you know, whole different hope. So we really did get up there, you know, pretty close, which was awesome. And but the real thrill was afterwards. They said, well, the Elvis impersonators go to. They had this area with tents. They had tents and stuff. And to this tent, there was an area outside it and yellow caution tape, you know. So I went with Cheryl and I got under the caution tape and just walked right in. And a guy came over very politely and said, I'm sorry, this is just for Elvis impersonators. They go, oh, come on. I know she isn't the best one around, but you got to give her hands a try, right? Come on. Come on. And all the Elvises were looking and we stayed, you know. So, like, I know, Gloria, you can kind of understand that I probably became a victim of my own circumstance in being that guy. Because in the end, it's like hope, you know, that you need that. And like you were saying, people forget they deserve hope too, you know?
Yeah.
And so to that end, that's why I'm so rubbed raw by our Senate president, who got a bill passed on the Senate floor, with homegrown included, to have it yanked out, and pissed him off. And then he said we could revisit it later, and now he's a Senate president, not allowing a homegrown bill to be heard for 4 years. No, patients had hope, and had hope in him all along. And a lot died, and a lot new came in, like new monkeys in a cage. You know? It was like this social experiment. And then when they found out it was him preventing it, he causes people to lose hope, and I can't tolerate that. And I'm not gonna. We're gonna have some fun this year, I'll tell you that.
Unfortunately, right now, though, you know, we're just walking into the midterms. I know that the mail-in ballots went in today. I know Governor Cheryl was around shaking hands, you know, with other people. And then you know, what's going on at Delaney Hall in Newark has taken attention away. But we haven't even gotten acknowledged on any of the requests that we've sent in for information, or at least just to say, yes, we got it. Yes, we got this whatever it is, this letter from you.
It's my opinion. I think Sue shares it somewhat. That's by design. As I explain it, she's probably well aware that she has a culpable deniability at this point to simply say, I knew about it, but I had no idea of the scope of the problem. Some version of that. And you can't say, yes, you did. It's not the time to argue the point. But you only get to do that once. So the clock starts ticking if she answers somebody. Whatever it is she answered, if it's an email, you have a record. And the one wonderful thing is about dealing with legislators, and I assume the governor's office as well, it's the one thing where it favors us a little bit, because it's a one-way street. There's no confidentiality on our part. We can say, here's what I sent the governor, here's what I sent the legislator, here's the lack of response, here's what they said. We get to do that, and they can't say boo about anything to do with it. Nothing. You can take something and put it on a billboard that they send you, and they can't say what caused it. There's going to, so it's sort of like, to me, it's always been, and it may be a little more in the future, it's simply getting people on record, and people have to realize that being ignored is getting them on record. So to that end, the quick version of the story is one of our biggest supporters now, actually a guy who's co-sponsored the adult home grow bill, Senator Vin Gopal. Long story short, he was said to somebody on Facebook, to a guy, Jeff King, why don't you stop? He was about medical cannabis. And why don't you stop trolling me here on my Facebook thing and hit me up for an office appointment visit legit? To which he replied, I swear to God, I love the Photoshop, the copy he had of it. He goes, Jim Miller said that this might happen, so the last two emails that you didn't respond are right now on a website, letpatientsgrownj.com. And he got a phone call like 10 minutes later. It was that quick. It was like, it was, he didn't want that look. He knew that's not a good start. But, I'm not saying that reeled him in. He was going to do it anyway, obviously, or he just realized it then. But I think I unfurled maybe at the end for Johnny this I'll do it again. This is an actual physical copy of an email trail of Susan. Oh yeah, she's back on opiates now because she ran out of money and didn't have opiates for like 19 months after being addicted for 29 years. Anyway, this is her email trail.
Impressive.
Yeah, it's not a very flattering read for her legislators, I must say. So we're going back and revisiting because actually the way in is for her to ask a Republican senator to be the check and balance on the majority party that he's supposed to be. Now, while he's not a co-sponsor of the medical home grow bill, basically he should want to know what's in it, and that the Senate president and the majority party is holding this up for 4 years. So if he simply asked the Senate president, please, I'd like to see this bill heard in committee, he's going to get turned down, but he's going to look good. He's like, listen, I don't know what to think until a committee hearing. Denying a committee hearing is denying senators the information. See, I got to say, you guys have been the minority party for 24 years, and for a reason. Look at you. You're not even doing this. So, it's sort of like these email trails that I got, it's only a handful. It was a really good idea, but I'm not the one to keep track of things and log it in and storyboard it and file stuff. And, I don't gain a big following with some of my ideas sometimes. I don't know why. Can't really never.
I have a distant connection to Vin Gopal. He used to be on my first aid squad when I was younger. So I wonder if I could help get in his ear a little bit.
Or is he your senator, or you know him? Are you?
I just know him.
Okay.
Hey,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Let me ruminate on that because there's a way larger backstory. I'll just give it to you quick as I can, but it is pretty funny. See, because Vin Gopal got sucked in by Jeff King, and Jeff King agreed shortly after that to funnel letters to emails to him. He would just copy and paste as his own, and then tell him, and this went on, and finally Vin was saying to Jeff ostentatiously, that I'm trying everything I can. You know, I want to speak at a rally. I'm trying everything I can. And Jeff challenged him about, are you really trying everything? You know, sort of like that,
Mhm.
meaning me. But then I made a mistake and actually CC'd Vin Gopal's office, something I was sending to Jeff. And holy shit, that could have been real bad, but it wasn't. But basically, he had an issue that I was saying that Vin says he couldn't get in touch with you, then he could have got in touch with you. He just didn't try, you know, and that's the truth. But it was funny because when I emailed back and I said, here's the way it went, Jeff was feeling bad like he did something wrong and it was all on me. So I was saying what I was saying to him because he's the one that got us here so far, you know. I watch out for people that help me. So I'm sorry if that insulted you, you know. And then we got good at it, and it was sort of like going to be an endless um, guy where I have somebody else that is would be better received than me, a patient. She's a very well known by the head of the committee of the bill fiction, and she she is better. I know when I'm not the person that necessarily walks through the door, I can open it. But anyway, she's been like maintaining what it's like a nesting an egg of some sort that just isn't happening. And in a way, it was the way to get her to understand I was doing everything I could, wasn't I? You know what I mean? It seems like, well, Jim, maybe you're not, you know, and I, anyway, it is going to change this year because, you know, to be able to say that this bill started with a previous Senate president not being allowed to get a hearing. So it's technically in its sixth year of not being allowed to have a hearing, over a half a decade. Now, if I could get the mortality rate of red patients, all I can do is estimate. There's a number. There's a number where I'll say it's my best estimate, and I usually go low because it doesn't need to be a big number, just a number. How many patients have died waiting for this to happen? And then I came across a video that I hadn't seen since I made it. I don't remember making it from 16 years ago to help get it signed and into law. The bill that we got screwed on for home grow. So anyway, I'm just sitting here thinking sometimes crossroads come quick for me. And, you know, quite frankly, I mean, I guess it's even clearer to understand because it's more familiar to the others that I ride like a 3 day wave every year from June 4th to June 7th, because June 4th, 2003 is when we found out that Cheryl, you know, she'd had enough. She wasn't going to do the feeding tube, you know, thing like that. I just found out that without it, you know, um, there'd be nothing they could do. And so they found that out. And then life got kind and it took a much quicker course and it was magically perfect. You know, the one time you really want it, right? If I was going to write a script and it was going to happen, it was exactly as it did happen. So I have no burden to bear there. But the thing is, I don't know. It's I understand and you understand, and a lot of people understand to a degree what an existential threat to one's life and lifestyle is. You know, you're living through it. Yet, you know, and you treat it like one. When you say, "I'm going to make you carry this wheelchair," you think it's like, "Let's do it." You know. So, but people don't feel that. You know, and that clock has been ticking this long. Is like I'm having trouble reconciling how I let it get this far because things got apparently way less important than when Cheryl died. And obviously, I don't treat it the same. And it's not that existential threat anymore. And in looking back, I'm having a problem reconciling some of that during this wave period. So, like right now, I can tell you exactly what I was doing 23 years ago. I mean, almost for sure, except a little bit tomorrow. That one's a little shady. But again, like I said, it worked out well. But it's just, when you sit here having experience about hospice and end of life situations with multiple sclerosis, with, it's sort of like kind of a good fit for a discussion here, But I talk too much. And what we need is, by the way, rest of you, we need some sort of sign, to like not a safe word. This is mean to go stuff like, and that means shut up for me. Somebody just think you're clearing your right. Yeah.
Like that. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? A lot of the problem is too is that Johnny is putting signs up in our face. No, I'm kidding. You can put all the signs you want,
Especially ones that say that.
yeah. But part of the problem is that because just as it's been mentioned by any one of us, that unless it affects someone personally, I don't really care. But the information, it has to be dug up and put out there also, and that's what we have to really, really, put our heads together and really do that, because people don't know. They don't know. And I'm not talking about what they don't know about cannabis, because there's a lot of information about cannabis that is easily accessible.
It's not really about cannabis, though. It really isn't about cannabis. It's about a bill being heard, a health care bill being
Well, yes, that's
yeah. In other words,
no, that's not being heard.
That's so that you're.
It's just like they don't know about like the right to try out. They don't know. Jim, I'm speaking.
No.
I'm going to do Kamala. I'm speaking over here. People don't know about the Right to Try Act. People don't know about the MAID Act. Do you know how many times I've said that to people about the MAID Act? I worked on that in New York, and Jersey has had it. But people are not aware, they're like, what is that? Even my husband's a surgeon. He even said to me, explain it to me, in the same lingo.
You also had to explain the endocannabinoid system to him. So
no, he's already well schooled in that. That's not an issue. But the MAID Act, is for the terminally ill. If you have 6 months left, then you should be able to, have the right to try, or the right to put yourself out the way you want.
The right to grow it,
and yeah, the right to grow it would be nice to go along with it,
and the right to have that bill heard in committee that's been blocked for all these years, because without it,
don't know that.
They don't have the key.
People don't know that.
Exactly. So that's why we need to do exactly what you're saying. But to me, it's anybody talks about home grow, it's never separated. Medical home grow, adult home grow. It's always home grow. Now, the people that don't want to talk about it never talk about medical home grow, because they'd rather talk about adult. So when they're talking about medical, they don't say the word medical, and it's up to the people educating if it was with an opposite point of view,
right?
But
right.
Finding ways to let people know this is about censorship of the information in a healthcare bill that's being withheld from senators that need the information to be able to form, by definition, a well-founded opinion, because an informational hearing is their best source of credible, pertinent information. And when they're being denied that being heard, not reading it, it's not a one-way street, like I was saying before, Sue, there's actually quite a long list of people that have spoken against common sense medical cannabis bills, So the people and organizations that show up to speak against it, list them. It's a long one, the kind I want to be able to memorize and take a deep breath and hope I can get them all out. One thing like George Carlin telling a joke. I mean, we boom, 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 boom. It's all these people, and I say let's give them the chance to come out and show the courage of their convictions and present you the reasons why this shouldn't happen. We will present the reasons why it should, and let senators have a well-founded opinion. I always refer to them as holding back information on the benefits and detriments of this bill. it's information.
Okay. The one point I do want to make, though, however, is that when, and you said it as you were talking, people don't refer to medical, right?
Right.
Okay. And you know what? Push comes to shove, all cannabis is medicine.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, but for the sake of discussion, which bill we're talking about? In other words, when you
Yeah,
have
but in order to get the general public to understand, do you know where I'm going with this?
no,
Yeah,
Gen-
so you're
okay.
trying to say like all cannabis is medicine, right? And so we want to take away the differentiation between medical and recreation because there's
I,
not the recreation is part of it, but it's not a sole entity. It's
th-
all medicine.
this isn't germane to getting the bill heard, though. It's germane to all the truth. I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. But I don't care about anything other than how people who are trying to find reasons to ignore the fact that this informational blockade is going on. And the way is when you have an adult home grow bill, which is being medical for most everybody that's using it recreationally, we know that, but the people who are three co-sponsors of the adult bill to sign on the patients, and there's a bill for both that has three co-sponsors, meaning six people, three that see the light of day are co-sponsoring both, but there's six people who on the Senate side of this are co-sponsoring only the medical and opting out of the adult bill. So when I'm trying to get this information on the bill that's not being heard, there also is an adult bill not being heard, and adults should pick up for that. They should. It's just that I don't do it because that muddies the waters. I want to be the guy. Oh no, Jim's only talk. It's I have to take away any standing they would have by confusing it with their misconceptions about adult use as well. I mean, basically, the arguments against are built on misconceptions for all of it. And it's the easiest way to make the Senate president really look bad because he got the medical six plants passed when he wasn't a Senate president in 2009. So it's a circle around, stab patients in the back by not doing what he said, saying we then that day when he found out and everybody found out that the assembly version was opting out, and if anything was going to be passed, it would not include home grow. So get patients off the battlefield that session. I agree. Get them off the legal battlefield. And he's like, we can revisit this down the road. And I was like, what, 5 years? 5 years. Sure. And then I was mad at him. I see on a video, Home Grow did a press conference 9 years ago, where my whole thing was about Senator Scutari, but he wasn't Senate president then. He just wasn't writing the bill, the provisions that he said we could revisit. He said we could revisit. We thought he meant him. We. Okay. So here we are, we down the road, and he's not writing the bill. He wasn't not writing the bill. He was waiting to jam up any bill that was written, and we don't know why, because he won't say, he won't engage. So, it's I really like that we're challenging ourselves, it seems, to really start being more organized, thinking both in the box and out of the box, not covering it. And basically, risk benefit. A lot of anything we're talking about, there's no real risk and there's no major cost. And I don't know about time and effort and things, but the possibility of benefit, I always see. I'm the guy that says, listen, I understand. And people say, there's no way he's going to do it. There's no way he's going to care. He's not going to care, you know? And I'm like, it's called the self-fulfilling prophecy. If I say, oh, okay, and then I don't try, well, he's damn sure not going to do it because nobody tried. And I'm not going to risk.
Jim, hold on a minute. Gloria can't hear anything?
Oh no, that was from before. That was
Oh,
that was
okay.
from the
Okay.
beginning.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, now I see it. So
No, I got it figured out. It was right when I first came in.
okay, it just popped on now.
That wasn't like,
No,
okay.
No.
Come on. David Frederick.
ramble on. You know that song, ramble on.
Come on. I know I go on. I do, but you know. It's
Gloria, how is it in your area where
I don't
the acceptability and are you you know, engaging, are you able to engage with your clients?
It's tough, you know. It's in my so I'm currently working as a case manager, which is a great cushy work from home job, which I have totally deserved. I put in the time in the hospital, so I'm taking my feet up and enjoying. We're not allowed to like recommend treatment. We just are there to support. So I can like put it in people's ear. So I have some people with like neurological stuff that I, you know, put it out there for. But it's hard because, you know, as nurses, when you're working under a certain provider or a certain facility, sometimes you can't make a recommendation. You can only support with education what comes to you. And people often don't receive it well anyway until it's on their own decision. My uncle has been dealing with some unknown neurological problems. They thought it was MS. It's not MS. They've done all these neurological tests. And throughout the whole thing, I've been trying to tell them to use CBD. You know, I just said, just use CBD, just a little bit of it or a lot of it or whatever, but like just use it. It's great for neurological problems in this wide variety, you know, or this wide rainbow of symptoms, right? And it took them years and they still had no answer, no treatment. He's suffering, da 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 da. And then a provider had to suggest it. And it was just CBD. It's not even something that you have to get at a dispensary, you know?
Right.
So it's hard, you know. I've been in this space for over 10 years now, and I think it's getting better. I think it's getting more acceptable. I, as a nurse, feel comfortable talking about my use, which I did not at the beginning of my use when I was a nurse because I was afraid that something was going to happen to my license. I know a lot of nurses still feel that way and don't feel comfortable talking about it, but I feel like in the span of this 10 to 15 years that I've been working in this space, I've seen it grow and become more acceptable, especially with the changing of the medical rules and recreational space in New Jersey. I mean, that certainly helps a lot. So when you're in a state where the legislation changes in the favor of the cannabis, I think it makes it just inherently more easy because people feel like I'm not talking about something illegal, you know, that could be illegal where you are, because I have patients all over the United States. So I have to know what their laws are and if I'm actually even allowed to talk about it or not. And it totally depends based on the state that they're in. And that's challenging.
Yeah, we have licenses to protect. I understand it completely. You know, there was something I was just going to say. What the heck was I? I lost it. Go ahead.
Gloria, there's a CRC meeting coming up Thursday the 18th, and it's Zoom. And you might want to register to speak at the Cannabis Regulatory Commission meeting, because I'm going to speak at the next one also.
I have been a guest before there a long time ago. But yeah, I would love to get back involved because I really liked doing that. But I never know what to speak about. Like I always want somebody to tell me what they want to hear about. You know, I can't just ramble on.
Well, you have 3 minutes, so I usually talk about wheelchair accessibility. I think I'm going to read a poem next time. If disabled people ran the CRC, we would have wheelchair access to all dispensaries. If disabled people ran the CRC, we would have home grow. If disabled people ran the CRC, I mean, you know, I could go on and on. If disabled people ran the CRC. So That's going to be my point. But those are my 2 points. So at the home grow, they should have informational hearings. Why doesn't the CRC have their own informational hearing on home grow? I mean, they can do that too.
That's a good question.
Why
That's a-
doesn't the CRC have cannabis nurses?
Right there. So Johnny,
Because we've only been recognized. That's all we've been, is just recognized.
were the wheels turning in your head when Lefty was, if a disabled person was in charge of it? But I
Yeah.
thought I saw the wheels turning in your head. See, Johnny is like really close with the Suno experience of making your own songs and has come up with a plethora of really good work. So that's why when Lefty said that, I thought, oh man, it sounds lyrical almost.
Sounds like a John song.
Yeah,
We're gonna
right,
listen to the song.
but Johnny's endless
Johnny's good.
surprises and stuff that I would listen to if I had a playlist, knew what one was, or knew how to have one and access it. My playlist is when I want to hear something, I can go to YouTube and hear it like instantly. It's like the jukebox I always wanted in my old age when I was in my 20s. I'm gonna have a jukebox.
I want to tell you about my experience about, I of course I grew up in Jersey and all that. And when I moved to New York, that's when, everything was getting legalized, and it was hell of a lot easier in New York. But when I moved back to Jersey, which was 2 years ago, I was a medical patient in New York, and that's what I did. I did that for a purpose. I was, because I could care less whether I have a card or, what anybody says or does. I'm a little beyond that. However, I did get a card because I was what I wanted to do. A lot of people were very apprehensive about going through the whole process of going to see a doctor. What do you do? How do you do this? How do you register with the Board of Health and whatnot? So I would take patients I had a physician that worked in the city. He was a doll. He was a really good cannabis doc. He knew his stuff, and he was just a nice person too, which was a bonus, And so I had a medical card because of that. When I moved to Jersey, I did apply for reciprocity, which I thought I would get, and I didn't. They kind of kicked me to the curb, and so I'm not anything anymore. And I thought that was pretty shitty, because
That is shitty.
yeah, because now you get into, okay, so that's the whole money making ploy. It's like, okay, so that what I got to go talk to somebody or see somebody, and then
It used to be terrible in New Jersey when my first husband did the program when it first opened up, and I think we spent $2,000. They made us go to these classes. He had to go to this cooking class and whatever. It was so my first experience with the medical program was miserable, and it was just a money-making scheme. And I think they've done better, but obviously they have their shortcomings. I'm a patient, and I thought that becoming a patient for the same reason, I'm a patient because of medical reasons, but also being a nurse and somebody who takes care of people who are medical patients, it was so nice to be able to talk to them, like you said, and be like, I've gone through the process. This is how it goes, ... and be able to walk them through, because some things I've said in my presentations before, like cannabis medicine is medicine unlike no other. It is prescribed by a doctor, and then it is never touched again by a healthcare professional whatsoever. So you are on your own, like you're in the back of a CVS pharmacy trying to pick out things by name based on what you think might be a symptom. Like, it makes no sense to me whatsoever. So I've always been very, forward about, like, we need cannabis nurses in dispensaries, because that's where people are getting their education. And that's what they're led to do, in all states, right? There's no good guidance. Maybe there's a little educational video that you watch when you first get, I think Maryland has that, where you watch a video about cannabis when you first get your card, which is like a step in the right direction.
Yeah,
but
we had a group meeting. It was part of a group meeting. It was entertaining, to say the least.
Right.
But it wasn't informative if you didn't already know stuff. So you're really hitting the nail on the head with this one. The idea of a cannabis nurse in a dispensary seems like that would be a selling point, an attraction for customers.
It's not though. It's not, and I'm going to tell you why. Because dispensaries cannot afford us.
I know.
You know, dispensaries pay $7, $14 an hour. You know, to the people that work there. That's it. I've trolled them. So
I know, and I wish we could have gotten in on the ground floor and just become part of the model of how the money gets spent. But I tried to, you know, and it's not a money maker. We had a dispensary open up by me that was touted to be, you know, a medical dispensary, particularly because it was run by a pharmacist. And I was like, amazing. This is going to be great. They're going to have medical professionals and medical help. No, it's one of the worst when it comes to like
right.
bud tenders don't know what they're talking about. There's no continuing education that they're getting, and they could care less. You know, like I've been to some places where I'm like, I'd steer a patient in this direction because I find the bud tenders to be a little more helpful, a little more educated, right? But like this place run by a pharmacist, forget it. You know, it's so disappointing because they really could have had a nice business model there where they would be like, bring us your medicines and we'll go over, you know, what your medicines are because we have a pharmacist here, right? Like, but nobody cares.
It's not about community. It's about the highest selling, highest THC and the quickest sale. And, you know, one of the things I do on my site is bartender training because, you know, not only for seniors, but for everybody, especially seniors. But, you know, they're the front line, you know, they're the boots on the ground. They are the front line. And I think part of the reason some of them are the way they are is because they don't get the support from the higher ups.
Right. And you can't really care about your job that much when you're making minimum wage or less. You know, it's hard to care about your job in that space as well.
Exactly. All the free samples in the world are not going to pay PSE&G.
Right. And, you know, we all want to make money. I want to make money. Like, we all want to make money. So why can't we figure out an algorithm here where we all make money off of it, where, you know, the patient spends a little bit of money and the nurse makes some money and the dispensary makes some money. It doesn't have to be the way it is very greedy. You know, it's very like profit first. And it's not a medical model whatsoever.
You know, I have a friend that we've had as a guest on here. His name is Dave Sandamino, and he lives out in Humboldt County in California. You know, and they had the big boom out there, especially in the county that he was in, and he had a very, really, really good, thriving business. He's gone back to work because he can't afford it anymore.
I believe it.
You know, and they all have. I mean, I have a family member also that, you know, also had a farm that gave it up because it's not making money anymore. You know, it was great in the beginning, but these past couple of years have been really circling the drain.
That's why I have a quote unquote real job. You know what I mean? I cannot be a cannabis nurse and that be it because it would never pay a single bill.
Which is why I was on mute.
The idea has been floated around about, and I know it's in the process about a cannabis nurse navigator. Now, Harlem Hospital, and I'm going to tell you, it was about 40 years ago, developed the navigator position. That was for oncology. So if you are an oncologist, you have a nurse navigator that follows you around and, you know, talks with you and walks you through your medications and whatnot, and does all the stuff that you need, and also works with the family members. So it's been tossed out there about having that as a position, being that the ANA has solidified that yes, this is a professional vocation. However,
our professional titles just got taken away from us. So in the midst of my graduate degree,
but everybody filed a suit. I just read that yesterday. This is just like new news. So everybody's filed suits against the Department of Education. So we'll see where that goes, you know, because we are a profession. You know,
Yeah.
we have a lot. I mean, we have a lot of initials after our names. We went to a lot of school for this.
I know I had to decide which ones to add in.
I know. I know.
mean,
Me too.
It's
Me
a
too.
pipe dream. It's such not a pipe dream, but it is such a utopic, like blissful thought to have cannabis nurse navigators. I think the first step is to educate our current healthcare providers who are currently taking care of patients on the basics of the endocannabinoid system and cannabis medicine. So, at the very least, patients have access to just the basics, simple, so that they can have safe use. Because remember, everything we do is safety, right? We want efficacy, but really first we want safety. We want nothing bad to happen. And in the cannabis space, there's safety concerns. We all know that there are and the way that dispensaries now are marketing bigger, harder hitting products, it's very easy to get lost in that space.
Yeah, yeah, especially with what's going to happen at the end of the year. Yeah, I know for me, I'm getting an awful lot of messages about, oh, we have this, this THC 10%, whatnot, and it's being pushed. And even what I get in the mail, it's coming faster. It's just coming faster, and that's okay because I can store it. But it's crazy. It really is. And I don't know, I don't know what the answer is. And I guess we all are sitting here because we're looking for answers. We're trying
To me, the answer is always going to be education. And it starts from the top, and this is one thing that makes me crazy.
I hear you.
We're going to have recreational as Schedule 1 because it's addictive, and medical as Schedule 3. Show me quantitative
wait a minute. The medical that you're talking about that is going to be Schedule 3 is FDA approved only. It's not the medicine.
Not medical, yeah.
But my point to all of this is there is no difference. It's the same plant.
Well, we already said that. All cannabis is medicine. We've already
and why is it medical dispensaries now we have breakwater that's showing up in a lot of recreational dispensaries. So does that mean that strain is now recreational because it's in a recreational dispensary, but it's in a medical dispensary?
Well, places that have both, I think it's just taxes. It's just taxes, right?
Exactly. It's all about taxes. It's not about educating and learning about the plant. Nobody wants to learn. Everybody just wants to make money.
I can appreciate that, but telling a legislator who's like a fence sitter that all cannabis is medicine, I believe that. But telling a legislator that opens the door for them to start saying what isn't medicine in his opinion, and that one's lost. That's been my experience.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, throwing it out there. So anyway, it's sort of like the thing is, medical cannabis bill getting a hearing will get a hearing by itself before being attached to a bill. We found that out with Jake's Law being lost while it got attached to legalization being put on the ballot. We had a vote to get it. And what happened is, no, wait a minute. Yeah, they put it on to get the 21 votes in the Senate they needed. They couldn't get the 21 votes. You just can't untie the provisions that were medical from the bill and vote on. It cost 8 months to get back where. So putting them together cost Jake's Law 8 months. I mean, we have a prototype. So what I'm saying is, I'd say 2/3 of everything at a medical hearing, 2/3 of the pushback that'll be bogus, and 2/3 of the truth will be identical to what presented for adults. So it opens up their can of worms, you know, indirectly. It does, and that would be the quickest way, in my opinion. There's nowhere to point to say I can prove that. It's just that talking to the legislators who have co-sponsored the medical one, you know, it's not whether even they have reservations. They got a whole network of shit going on we don't know about, and it's more about he's going to lose favor with somebody else if he crosses that line. It's not even about what he believes, you know. So like sometimes we don't understand what's involved in their world, and you know, it's sort of like rarely one reason. There's push and pull, and I don't care to understand it. It's just I got to go where I think the weak point is, and it just seems like the patient stories that can and could be told, especially by patients in person, you know, which is why we're going to be trying to get a press conference, see if the people we have contact with it have these bills that aren't being voted on, even both recreation and the thing. Have a press conference, you know, hear about all of it with them. And so, you know, that could be a pretty important step. But getting the senators to sponsor a press conference basically gets us into a room in the State House. They don't have to be present, you know. We could have other senators. We could do, you know, they can say what it's I'm just kind of hoping, but then one disappointment after another. How do you argue with the person who has this bill about what they should and shouldn't be doing? I mean, already the one Senator Gopal, you know, saying he wanted to speak at a rally. He said that, well, to me, but he thought I was Jeff King, you know, because Jeff it was his letter and that's how we reached him. But you know, it might be that point even for them. I don't know why the sponsors haven't made a bigger move, but I do know it's because of something I don't understand on their end. You know, much like even with an advocacy, there's things other people don't understand why things get done. So I always factor that in, you know. There's an unknown factor. So yeah, please. That's why I keep it focused on one person and one thing, because I can draw people into my vortex for that are doing all sorts of other things. Oh, by the way, Lefty, we need to have, I need to have, or be at, somebody else have, it would actually kind of help, any kind of protest at the Senate Scrutini's office, you know, where you've been before, correct?
Yeah, I'd love to go there again.
Oh, okay. You know, basically, that's one of my ducks. I got to get a bunch of ducks in a row because I'm expecting if something doesn't break one day, I got to have a good answer to the question, Jim, why did you do that? And I need to be able to explain my ducks, you know? So I have to be able, well, of course we tried the protest. We tried this, we tried all of that. I got a list of ducks, you know, there's already ducks that are born. There's ducks that have to be born. I mean, we had a petition to get a bill heard in committee. I mean, come on, nobody has a petition for that.
When I was protesting Scutari's office, I had, you know, we need home grow.
Yeah.
People are coming up to me, they're like, what do you mean? Pot's legal. I'm like, no, you can't grow weed. You go to jail for 5 years for one plant. They're like, really?
Can Ratari be done there? You have that battery pack. Can we get an hour of Ratari at a meeting? That's a 10
90 minutes. 90 minutes of Ratari.
That's a.
Why don't you tell Gloria what Ratari is first?
He's a giant rat that we call, instead of Scutari, he's called Ratari.
Did you ever see the
10-foot blow
when the union has a campaign going on? They use that. It's the union rat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this is a friendly looking rat. It's like funny.
It's cute.
But the thing is,
I will send you a picture.
This is a rat that Lefty and me got where he has these like clawed hands. It's a, you know, he looks friendly, but we custom made his hand, looks like it's grabbing over the top on one and right through it on the other one, you know, and the sign calls him like Senator Rattari instead of Scutari. And the sign was a quote from Rattari, "You shouldn't have trusted me," in one hand, and other things around it like that. And when it gets windy, he's going like this, and people are walking right by on the sidewalk on Trenton, and it looks like he's waving a sign. It's really he's tethered to a tree. But I've gotten a lot of pushback from a major advocacy organization and individuals and advocates that some of the things I do and my way of doing things is going to piss off Scutari, and we need him to get anything passed. To get anything done, we need him. So we don't want to piss him off. Now, I know, Gloria, you can imagine that I did hold it in, but to like 5 years of blocking the information from senators, and you're saying we need him to get something done. You know, I'm often not the sane person in the room. I'm rarely the adult in the room, you know, and I don't know how to handle those moments, admittedly. I keep forgetting somebody who knows is there. She could be making faces I haven't been looking. There's a playback, you know. I can see. I'll find it. Yeah, you know. But anyway, to the point where we have a Thanksgiving pop-up podcast. This was when it was Governor-elect Cheryl, and we didn't have Rattari. We had a sign saying, you know, basically that they're all patients need help and why. A good picture, you know, that are attached to requests that I've sent. You know, in other words, look, we're out here like with a giveaway. We gather shit and people come and threaten and take it away. You know, it's a wonderful day. But then we didn't have Rattari on the 421 because, again, she was just under her first 100 days, I believe. And my idea was, listen, she's going to be busy. We're not going to, you know, we try to do what we can do our own way, but we've done that and not brought Rattari out yet. He didn't make it to the last one a couple days ago. Truth be told, even though it's being recorded, Lefty couldn't find it. He's in the midst of sort of a change of life move, and some things were here and some things were there. So I played that to my, you know, like if I were a political operative, you know, I explained to one of the organizations that I had a big argument with Lefty, and I talked him into not letting Rattari come to this one, you know, the last one, and said that, you know, and it was he couldn't find it. But I turned that around into, okay, yeah, lying. I mean, I could say it a different way to get somebody to believe something is not true. And it works to my advantage. So anyway, I myself am in the midst of a transition. And the thing about Sativa Cross is, I know it's a little bit like McHale's Navy was in the old days, or you know, the you know,
Not everybody's as old as us.
I know we get basically it's misfits put where they call it, you know. But the thing is, the standard way of doing things hasn't worked. It's been 5 freaking years. So no matter how you cut this cake, it's kind of, when I don't want to say our fault, but it is. It's sort of like, how could we have known that it could possibly go on this long? But it has. And it's sort of like I feel a burden personally because I freaking know better. I'm Jim Miller. I know better. I've proven it. I picketed a congressman's house that lied to Cheryl, and she died. His name's Frank Pallone. I found out from a congressman that said, hey, have him come talk to me. So Frank Pallone said, okay, I'm got to Cheryl. I'll talk to Congressman Andrews. And then she died, and he didn't talk to her, and I picketed where he lived at 1175 Ocean Avenue in Long Branch with a sign that said, here lives Congressman Pallone. He lied while my wife died. Yeah, I did that and found that the Patriot Act didn't cover shit with that because it was 2003, and everybody said, oh, you can't do that. but see, I was immune because Cheryl just died. Imagine, I was leaning into the police. It's like, please hit me, anything. I just put me out of my misery. So, but anyway, it turns out doing that, I'm not saying it's going to happen or anything at the end of this rainbow, but I got a congressman as a reference as to what it would be like for me to show up at a house, and how he changed his vote on an issue the next year because he didn't want me coming back. I'm just saying, I'm seeing a sort of a parallel.
Here's Jim Miller.
I have
yeah,
breaking
and
news. I have
John-
breaking news. Breaking news. Senator Scutari's mom passed away this morning. Patricia Davis.
No.
And I believe she was a medical cannabis patient. I
She had
believe.
MS.
And she 1 out of 10 that passed away. To our stats, 1 out of 10 patients.
She registered patient. Yeah. Okay. Well, that means that has to be factored in everything I was just saying. It's sort of like, okay, a little direct. Yeah, but at any rate, I'm lining ducks up. That doesn't slow down duck lining up and creating ducks. Things to say that I've tried that haven't worked. And Johnny, to that end, I'm going to be taking your advice on what post office I'm going to go to in Scutari's district, because I'm going to hand out information there just to get a picture of doing it, and I'm going to find.
Mr. Roselle. Roselle has no wheelchair access, so let's go to Roselle and set up a ramp.
What I need is somebody in that district who's a constituent, therefore, if it's a senator, to ostentatiously come by the post office to get some freaking stamps or something, and there I am, and I go over to this table and I find out blah blah blah. In other words, I want somebody take a picture and attach it to an email and said, why am I looking at this? In other words, like, oh yeah, it's a setup, but it doesn't matter, because it'll be like email on record. But I need to do that.
It's memorialized.
Okay, the post offices are considered town center because that's the way it always was, where you specifically had a right to redress your grievances at town center. So the post office has to, by constitutionality, and they gladly do, tell you where you must be, what you can and can't do when you represent your issue at the post office. What I need is people doing that, at least me. If there was a picture of me doing that at his post office, because that in social media does the same freaking thing. I mean, it's you get to mix it up. It's like, I don't want to be that guy that shows up, takes pictures and goes, but if I got a couple stops to make, holy shit, Jim covered 18 post offices in one day. But Saturday, of course, in the morning is when people would best be going. There's no traffic for me getting anywhere there and back. And then if somebody says, wow, that's pretty cool, are you going again? I'd like to show up. It's like, no, you show up, I'm going somewhere else. We'll have 2 at the same time. We could do 3. Could we do 5? A whole hand. Come on, high five me. 5 post offices on the same day. It's just for a freaking picture. Come on.
Gloria,
Getting a little bit late.
Gloria, I have 2 questions for you.
Yes, sir.
What's your favorite munchie food?
What's my favorite munchie food?
Yes.
Something cheesy. So it could be anything. It could be cheese in itself, or it could be a Dorito, but it has to be cheesy.
Could it be cheese doodles?
Yeah, it could be cheese doodles.
The old hot cheese doodles, they don't make them anymore.
The flaming. I don't know. The flaming doesn't agree with me.
Not the crunchy little curly, the puffy ones.
I'll do either. I'll do either.
Anyway, just
Okay, what's the next question?
Second question is, the first time you smoked weed or got high,
How old were
what
you?
was it like, and how old were you, and what was it like? What was your experience like?
Well, you heard my story that I was terrible to my sister. So she, when I came around, said that she was the one who was going to get me high for the first time. And so I smoked a joint with her and said I didn't feel anything, and then bullied her into smoking another joint with me, and then got way too high and cried a lot. So it was not a good experience, but I did know that I had to try again. And
How long till you did? Not to interrupt, but how long till the next try?
it was a while. It was maybe a couple years, honestly. It was really bad.
That's some kind of a while.
And now?
Now, I mean, I honestly didn't really start smoking until I was 33, 34. So, and that was dealing with endometriosis.
Oh,
So
that's
managing some symptoms. So as I was learning, about MS and how it was like helping symptoms with patients, I was learning that, it could probably help me too with the things that I was dealing with. So it was a godsend for sure. But the first time was not a good time at all.
It never is. I know.
Gloria,
How
do you
we
have
get past it, I don't know.
Gloria, do you have a website or a way for people to contact you or see your content?
I don't. I'm kind of like trying to find a place for it right now. So, I'm on Instagram and I'm on Substack and I'm trying to figure it out. So I don't have anything great right now, but I will keep you guys posted if I used to go by the moniker The Weed RN, and I had a website and everything, and I was trying to push education and everything, and then I had to like pull back and stop feeding money into that. So you might see my stickers floating around New Jersey here and there because
You are more than welcome to post articles, education, whatever you'd like on my school community.
Oh yeah, I would love
Absolutely.
to.
Yeah, sativacross.org. You can post on there. We have a blog that Sue is on and Jim is on. You want our
We
blog?
need the password for that.
I
Yeah,
have.
I
have
have
it.
a lot of writing, and it's been here, there, and everywhere, and I love to write and I love to educate. I just got my master's as a nurse educator.
Nice.
So I'm very passionate about education. So yeah, I would
Me
love to
too.
do guys stuff about to post. That would be great.
Oh, that would be great to collaborate with you. Like, amazing, amazing.
Absolutely,
I'll
I'm so
get your
honored.
contact info from Sue if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Sue, thank you.
Yeah, Sue can circulate my contact information with you guys. And then I'll work on trying to get a place for all of my stuff. But for now, thank you for letting me post with you guys.
Thank you.
Oh, we
Thank you,
appreciate
Gloria.
it.
Thank you, Gloria. You were terrific, and I love you to pieces. And we'll keep talking. Okay.
Love you dearly. Thank you guys so much. It was so wonderful to meet all of you, and I hope this is the start of a beautiful friendship.
Yes,
Well,
agreed.
sure is.
If nobody
All right.
else will say it, you definitely will be coming back, I would assume,
Yes, I would love
I would
to.
hope so.
to do this again. And we don't have like we generally go weeks and be quit. No, we're not that kind of podcast. It's like basically you'd be welcome back anytime, especially when there's something kind of like right up your alley going on, like a reason, or just to tune in anytime you want. It's we get things done different than a lot of nonprofits, and we run kind of a different sort of ship, and you don't know what McHale's Navy is, but we do get stuff done, and I tell you, I sincerely believe we are about to have a banner year, Sativa Cross specifically, and we're going to be opening some doors this year.
That's wonderful. Any way I can help, I would love to be helpful. So hopefully we can all collaborate in the future. But thank you guys so much. This was lovely.
Thanks, Gloria. And I
Thank
will
you, Gloria.
talk with you tomorrow.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. All right. Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, and thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
So that was
Thank
good.
you, CMMNJ, UFCW, Arlo Glass, OprahMachine.com, and SativaCross.org.
This concludes our podcast.
Oh,
That was a good one.
that was better than his usual somehow. Is that me? Or, I mean, it really was.
Never.
He held it
Never.
a little longer, to make him kind of mistake.
You eat it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's do our list here. Besides
No.
Mad Hatter,
Sad Hatter.
Sad Hatter, Patricia Davis, the Scutari's mother, she passed away. Sorry to hear that.
You know, she was diagnosed when she was 40 years old. I was reading about her. And, you know, they did the whole cane, wheelchair, you know, whatever with her, too. They did a little write-up. It's in the New Jersey Globe. So if you want to look at it.
Yeah. Huh.
I'll send you the link. Let me see.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'm glad his mother has never had to go without because she couldn't afford it.
Yeah, New Jersey Globe.
Yeah.
So, Jim, you know where Senator Scutari is going to be
Tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Or the next week. You don't know what but you don't know what the arrangements will be. It says private services will be private.
Is that a line we want to cross?
She had
Nope.
no, you don't want to do
No,
Yeah.
that is a line that we treat like a skunk with a vengeance to like carry out against you. You know, a fast skunk. You know.
It says here
So-
she would go from using a cane to go to work to a walker to a
Yeah.
wheelchair to eventually being bedbound.
Basically, I have
In her late 40s.
I have a personal moratorium of at least 30 days of going, and you know, I'm going to stop bad mouthing them on Facebook even to a degree, but you know, 30 days is 30 days, you know.
30 days last September.
We
Yeah,
can talk about how his mom couldn't get into dispensaries.
I'm sure
Yeah,
she needs
you know. Yeah, his mom is his mom, and we never really made her a part of it. We did mention it because he mentioned it.
Mhm.
You know, actually, he mentioned it more than we did. We were just repeating things that he said, except for the fact that he might have grown it on a terrace or something. But that's not really out there. So yeah, that changes. It doesn't change me. Actually, it probably pushes me in a more proper direction for getting my ducks in a row, because that's what it's all about. And a lot of that isn't high profile shit. It's just to have a freaking list. I swear to God, 2 lists. One, the people who come and talk against the committee hearings, and then the other one. I mean, I basically memorize a long list. It's like all the towns you've been to. You did a song that way, but if you named your towns, how many breaths would it take, right? A lot.
Okay, so Governor Mikey Sherrill says thanks to Motor Vehicle Commission improvements, more than 300,000 real ID applicants have been processed since she took office. Well, they turned me away.
Huh.
I did not get my stuff back from Mad Hatter yet. I will
You
soon.
didn't? Okay.
I
Our
got
list
it.
begins with Cheryl,
James.
Sabina, Diane, Gracie, Cindy Mae, Marie, Jack, Joan, Randy, Holly, Bill, Chad, Jeremy, Colette, Matt, Troy, Russ, Roger, Jay, Ella, Hattie, Jackie, Anthony, Jake, Armando, Felicia, Lynn, Dan, Sean, Joyce, Lori, Frank, Brian, Flo, Carl, Thorne, Frank, Lorraine, Terry, Charlotte, Cher, Jaybird, Michael, Marley, Colette, Brendan, Red, Rico, Lou, Becky, Wanda, Chip, Paul, Lisa, Marcus, Gary, Julia, Wayne, Waxy, Joe Marie, Paul, Jeff,
We missed them all.
Sunday is burn up cleanup in Dover. Come out to Dover to get some weed and clean up the garbage in Dover. That's right. They're giving away free weed. They have pre-rolls from like 3 dispensaries that they're giving away up in Dover. You can get the address online from
It's been going on about 5 years now.
Yeah, I think it's 6 years, 6th annual. Yeah.
Yeah, it started before it was legal. He jumped the gun. He's a Sooner, man.
Yeah, we did.
He left too soon, man. He
So
got that
wonderful.
property first. No, that's a land rush analogy.
This concludes our podcast.
Thank you, Wayne. We'll see you Sunday for Burn Up Cleanup. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Okay.
Have a good weekend.
They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.
Guys.